come to consensus on the minutes and such. So let me share. I'll put into the chat the our DLT minutes from last month. And I do welcome Catherine, who is now going to be serving for the remainder of the year as our DPAC representative. Catherine, I think this is the first DLT meeting, right? Or what did I introduce you last time? I don't remember.
You introduced me last time.
Okay, perfect. Guys, I just put in the into the chat the link for the minutes, and then I will put it on the screen so that you guys can review.
Dr. Mike, the only thing is Catherine was on last month and we don't have her listed
We'll
anywhere.
edit it, no problem.
Just off of first sight.
That's probably why I asked that question, because I didn't see it in here. Kind of formatting.
I fixed like 1 or 2 typos just now, but other than that, I'm good.
Thank you, Eden. And I think we have 6, so I think we can come to consensus. So if you guys are ready, when you're ready, just give me a digital thumbs up that you are good with the minutes. Thank you, Eden. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Lamar. Eduardo, are you good?
Good.
Okay, thank you. And Rachel, you good? Okay. All right, guys, we are good with the minutes, so I'm going to just pop up the agenda real quick. We're going to have some updates and reminders.
Yes, I'm good with the minutes. Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. We're going to have do some updates and reminders. We're going to talk a little bit about the wellness collaboration update and follow up from our most recent CEC conversation. DCP goal revisions. We made some additional statements from our CEC members. We're going to include that in here, and then there'll be a space for feedback for everyone, just to spend some time thinking about it and reflecting on what each of these goals means and things that we should be thinking about moving forward. And then I'm going to have a short little space of information around what's referred to as trajectory changing schools. It was a presentation that I was able to sit in on most recently with superintendents from across the city. that I think are worth us having a conversation about here at the DLT. Did discuss this at with our principals. We'll be talking about this with our assistant principals, but I also think it's worth a conversation here at the DLT. So we start thinking about this at the SLT level, and maybe even during our SLT meeting that we have in the early fall. And I have some ideas around the early fall as well in terms of preparation for our school leadership teams, based on what we went through during the citywide training. I think there's an opportunity there to do things a little bit differently. I feel like we do a lot of talking at people at those sessions, and to me, I don't know how productive that is. So we're thinking about having it perhaps in a school where we do some breakout sessions where folks get to move around, ask peers from other schools some questions around how they're doing things. So I have some thoughts about that, and we'll talk about that more in the June meeting, which I'm hoping everyone's able to make, because that one will be in person, the June session. So let me move on to the next phase of this, and DCEP progress monitoring from Gus, and updates around CEP development will be shared by Gus as well, and then we'll go through each of our constituent groups thereafter. So just getting started, I'm hoping all of our moms had an amazing, amazing Mother's Day. I'm hoping that you were able to get some time to do a little bit of relaxing, and hopefully getting a little bit of pampering too at the same time. I'm hoping that happened for you. I know that's not always the case, as you tend to wind up doing a lot of the work anyway, and the running around, but I'm hoping you did have some time to yourselves to enjoy a little bit, maybe a little bit of breakfast from the kids, and hopefully your significant other. I'm hoping that those things happen for you on Sunday. But it was a beautiful day. I'm hoping you got to enjoy. And I realized myself within a few minutes that sunscreen is a really important thing, especially for the top of my head these days, because there's not much hair cover, and my scalp definitely got roasted. So I'm hoping you guys were able to enjoy some of that really, really beautiful day. So some of you have seen already. Some of these slides you've seen already, others you have not. But I did want to go through it so that we all are on the same page with some of the reporting. So Amplify Math, I do want to make sure that everyone is fully aware that we will be going with the Amplify Math curriculum moving into next school year. A lot of that work was done this year by a team of district folks, from parents to teachers to administrators, engaging in conversations around which would be the math curriculum that we adopt, in alignment with New York City Solves. Now, you guys know New York City Solves is what was launched to support students in their learning in mathematics, particularly at the high school level, was the space where it started first. Many schools did identify illustrative mathematics as the curriculum of choice in many of our high schools. Amplify curriculum is very, very similar. It was built off of the illustrative mathematics mindset. So it's a very similar type of program, but done through the Amplify components, which we'll talk a little bit more about, moving forward. Mathematics, as we know, going from to with the instructional shifts, from beginning with modeling to sense making, differentiated tasks to share, low floor, high ceiling, discourse to demonstrate understanding, but this moving towards developing understanding, deficit thinking to asset-based, and then shared curriculum. Here in the district, particularly in our middle schools, there was a lot going on with our middle schools, not necessarily all in a shared space. So we did move into one solid curriculum now going into next year, so that our conversations are all aligned, the expectations around content are all aligned. So this is something that was organized over the course of 2 years, which I will mention shortly, so that we get to the space of a shared high quality curriculum. I'm not going to go into necessarily the vision statement. This is something that we've talked about in the past, but goal around building our kids as problem solvers. Nothing as is today is just cookie cutter, where we can just follow procedures to answer questions. We do need to be able to think and organize our plans in order to solve problems, especially our real world ones today. So a lot of what we're going to be working towards is this idea of our kids becoming really strong math thinkers, so they can solve real world problems moving forward. This work started in 23-24, engaged in a series of sessions with district leaders, school-based leaders, teachers, parents, elementary schools, focused on the development of a math vision, and then engaged in pilot studies with a series of schools. So Amplify was piloted in 164, 169, 379. IM was already in some schools, but we got some learning from 24, 32, 214, 185. And then iReady Math was implemented in just one of our schools, PSMS 200. So folks from across the district were able to go into these schools, visit to see what the programs look like, had opportunities to meet vendors. And from there, we were able to make a decision on math curriculum. Rachel, I see your hand up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Just in it goes along with the process. And I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't read the small print.
No problem.
I was at another district meeting, district to be unnamed, where they did go with illustrative math.
Yeah.
And the UFT rep repeatedly at the meetings has expressed frustration on behalf of the teachers as to the learning process for that program, that they're basically learning on the fly, that they weren't given much support. And so looking as we go into this type of scenario for our district, what are the specific plans to make sure that the teachers have full resources in implementing this Amplify Math?
Yeah, great question, Rachel. And you're going to see in the next couple of slides, you're going to see the training sessions that we've organized, so that our teachers hit the ground running for September. But more importantly, that each of the folks that are going to be participating in implementation get some of that training now, so that they can start practicing in June. So there are things, and I'll share with you in just a few moments what those look like. So needless to say, this all kind of unfolded where building leaders were able to go and visit schools with the implementation of each of these programs, and then wound up choosing, Amplify was the selected curriculum. Now, I will say this was unfortunate that, my hands in this, although I had my own thinking in this space, this was really intentional to be a collaborative decision around Amplify moving into next school year. And gathering feedback from a variety of constituents. This was just not a space of principal saw and then they chose. Beth was really diligent in gathering feedback from a wide range of folks, from her teams that she was meeting with on her as part of her cohort trainings, to other organized visits to schools, always constantly getting feedback from a range, including students. So I'm not going to necessarily share this video, but it's a cute little video around the Amplify program and perspectives from kids, what they think about the program and why it's been helpful to them. There are a variety of different math resources that come with this program, from interactive lessons, practice problems, recommendations for differentiation for teachers, assessments to support our own learning as teachers. And one of those parts that I really do like about it is those checks for understanding as the lessons are going on, so that our teachers know where our kids are in the moment, and those supports can be put in place as we're going through lessons rather than at the end of them. So really, really, really important tools that are embedded in this program. And then they do have a hub for families so that there's access to resources for families to support their children at home. But in terms of rollout, and this is kind of to your question, Rachel, there's going to be 2 days of PL for all middle and elementary school teachers, grades 3 to 8, to support the use of curriculum. Part of this is going to be around unpacking what the program has and offers. There'll be an in-person PL for Amplify Principals in June, two-day session on New York City math shifts for school leader and teacher from all middle schools. All teachers will engage in training for the curriculum in September with pilot Amplify Desmos lessons in June, meaning they will have an opportunity to unpack and start implementing this this school year. School visits by district math team to observe implementation will support the rollout. And we're partnering with West Ed Research Grant to gather some data on from teachers and students as we're going through, so that we are providing as many supports as we possibly can through the lens of the feedback that we receive, which I think is a really good thing for us as a district, that we're not just implementing, but we're gathering that feedback in between so we can support decision-making moving forward. And then this summer, there will be opportunities for our staff across the district to engage in training. This will be with Beth and the Amplify team to support instruction going into the start of the school year. Now, this is more significantly a rollout for grades 6 to 8, but I'm sorry, excuse me. But for schools that do have departmentalized grade 5 or grade 4, they are welcome to certainly implement as well. And that will be happening in a number of schools, not necessarily all going into next year. And the reason why we're not going full force across grades is that we are still in the implementation phase of HMH. So to add in another curriculum on top of that was not something that I was ready to do yet. Departmentalized grades is one thing because the content is specific to what they're delivering. So organizing around math for those grades is not the same as a teacher now still making sure that we're implementing HMH really well. On top of that, another new math curriculum. So needless to say, we will be offering supports, gathering feedback so that we can provide next steps for all of our teachers that will be implementing going into next year. And I feel pretty good about that part of it. There are a series of resources here as well, including feedback that's come from these curriculum reviews. They're all accessible here for you to review at your leisure, to ask some additional questions as we move through the summer and into the start of the 25-26 school year, which is a blink away, which is hard to believe. Any specific questions, certainly around math, Beth is always available. I have her email address here too, and this slide should be down here, not the other way around. Sorry about that. So anyone has any questions about that, you can certainly reach out to me or Beth for any specific math questions, but it's important stuff nonetheless. These sessions we talk about every time. On Wednesday, May 28th, Beth will be doing a session specifically around this curriculum so that our parents are aware of what's coming. This is really an important session. It is virtual, so I'm hoping we get a pretty good turnout for that session. And then we will be doing an iReady and Acadians follow-up session as the diagnostics are being implemented now. AAPI month is this month, so big shout out and celebration for all of our communities, particularly those within, particularly our Asian community, including our Pacific Islanders from Malaysia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. Big shout out to you guys for that celebration. And Jewish Heritage Month as well, celebrating all of our Jewish Americans that have supported our nation's history through those positive acts. So experiences throughout our district, one that is really, really awesome, and I intend to bring out to you guys when they are complete, but Bell Academy and 379 have partnered in what they call what's called the Names Not Numbers project. So they not only learn from professional filmmakers, editors around how to do those types of things, how to use those digital tools, but they also in the process get to interview Holocaust survivors, and they basically create a documentary based on their experiences. So they learn how to create interview questions, they learn how to organize and edit film. And this is something that that Principal Abbott has been doing for years, but now has also kind of created an additional space of that with 379 in a partnership. So this will be back-to-back years that they've been working together, and it is really truly an inspiring, set of lessons that our kids get to go through, and also to be able to get an understanding, more importantly, of what these survivors had to go through at that time. So you'll hear more about that, and we'll be sharing that information with you when we get closer to the completion of that project, which will be happening at the end of May. Timelines this week: pre-K offers will be released Tuesday, May 13th, and then 3K offers the 20th. Just a reminder to all of you guys here, our testing is ongoing. We're still in the midst of math testing. We're finishing up this week for those that are completing CBT testing. NYSA slot ongoing through May 23rd for listening, reading, speaking, writing. Science CBT is this week, May 13th through the 16th for our children in grades 5 and 8. And then EOY testing is May 5th through the 13th. So I'm hoping by the time we meet again on the 9th, I'll have the vast majority of data in so that I can share with you the current reality of this year. This some of you have seen already, and I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but we did have our All-Star game, which was really great. And we had our middle school girls tournament, which included 4 teams this year for the very first time. All really great work. Youth leadership team. Last month, I shared with you that it would be held on Friday, May 23rd. The youth leadership team organized event will be now happening on Friday, May 30th at Adelphi University. It's going to include motivational talks, team building activities and games, social emotional learning workshops, and dance sessions. So we will be having a coach bus pick up all the kids here from Linden Place, bring them over to Adelphi University, where they're going to have just a really great day. A couple of former professional athletes, one from the Boston Red Sox and one from the New England Patriots, will be there talking to kids about the importance of wellness, as well as building up this space of social awareness, self-awareness for our kids, and relationship building and teamwork. So really excited about this event. Looking forward to seeing the outcome from it. District arts funding. This I was able to share at the CEC. Really excited about this. We partnered with Studio in a School, Arts Connection, and Flushing Town Hall. Series of events in terms of bringing the arts to our buildings, including Broadway shows, Betty Boop, Operation Mincemeat, Buena Vista Social Club, as well as Aladdin. Aladdin, we linked into student attendance. Children 90 to 100% in identified schools will be having the opportunity to earn some of those tickets. So a parent and their child will be able to attend. We'll have a couple of teachers or staff members from each of the identified schools, and a couple of district members will be there for representation purposes. But really excited about this. Hoping that I'm fortunate enough to receive some funding next year to do similar types of things, where we can bring that to the DLT and organize how we're going to distribute the type of resources. This was kind of a couple-day window that I had, and we were able to get that done for everyone. And this, just a quick reminder, with class size reduction coming, we did do a recruitment fair. We had over 300 folks that managed to come for this recruitment fair, meeting principals, assistant principals, and teacher leaders from across the school. Really, really well attended. And we received quite a bit of positive feedback from those that were able to attend. So those are just the updates. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about setting the stage for DCEP and CEP planning. So this is something that I found really, really important during a session that I was recently at. And the question is, how can schools create a strong academic foundation for all young people? It's kind of the headline of this. And this next slide, I want you guys to just linger over and reflect on just for a moment. This was a study that was done by Trajectory Changing Schools. And based on this study, over 28,000 public elementary and middle schools nationwide, where the average student was not yet on grade level, just 5% help the average student catch back up? Want everyone to just linger on that for just a moment. So among the 28,000 public elementary and middle schools where the average student had not yet caught up, just 5% helped children catch back up. Let's be in that space of reflection real quick. So from that study, they kind of organize around things that promote trajectory changing schools. And there are a number across the country where kids are below grade level that we're able to put in systems and structures to promote 1.3 relative grade levels of progress over year by year. And if we do that year over year, kids were able to catch up and be more along the lines of being on grade level than others. And there were three things that they called out as being present across each building that was considered a trajectory changing school: belonging, consistency, and coherence. Everyone, just to kind of read those three elements on the slide. And then I'm going to put into the chat, just so that everyone has this, the slide deck, because I'd like you to just quickly, independently, read the next three slides. So slide 36, 37, and 38. And then after you're done with that, I'm going to put us into just a quick group for a brief reflection. Just going to put the timer on real quick. We'll just give it 5 minutes just for you guys to reflect on those three slides, and then we'll come back together for a quick chat. Just another minute, minute and a half of reflection, guys, and then I'm going to pop you into a couple of groups. And in the groups, just your reflections, what's making you think, whether you're a parent leader, you're a building leader, you're from someone from the team like myself, what is it making you think? Okay, guys, I'm gonna put 5 minutes on the clock in the breakout rooms. Just a quick round. Things that you see in that makes you say, oh yeah, that makes sense. Things that you say, you know what, here's what my thinking is on that, or questions that it raises for you. Whatever those, anywhere you are in that space during this little brief breakout room. Again, just 5 minutes. Gonna open those rooms now. Welcome back. Well, for some reason, I am pinned on the viewer. I don't like that. I'm going to go to the gallery. Okay, that's better. Any comments from the other group? We had a really nice little chat in the group I was in. Anything that came up in yours or in mine that someone wants to call out, things that we kind of noted?
Well, I like Rob's analogy of the price fix menu, as focusing on a small number of things and getting them right, rather than having a large option of things, and maybe not everything is as up to par as you would want it to be, if I'm interpreting his analogy correctly.
Yeah, I love that. Rachel, Rob, you want to just kind of embellish on that? Because I do think it's very appropriate to the context of the chat.
Sure. Something that, while I'm looking through this, looking through it, all of it, but, the things that pertain to me kind of pop out first. And one of the things is about instructional leaders maintain simple shared focus. And one of the challenges we have as principals is we have so many things that we could possibly focus on. Sometimes they're so pertinent that we have to do it right away. But as far as maintaining a consistent focus on the important things that we need to get right, sometimes we could get distracted. And the analogy I guess I made was yesterday I took Kara, my wife, out for Mother's Day, and there was to a restaurant that we go to all the time. And they usually have an endless selection of Italian delights that I choose from. And yesterday they only had a handful of things available because there was a prefix menu, because they were so busy, because they were so inundated with clientele. They shaved down the menu to make sure that they are consistently getting what it is they want to put out there correct. And while I maybe was anxious that I wasn't getting the thing that I wanted to eat, they did a very good job at selecting what it is that they were going to do right yesterday. And that's what we strive to do in our school buildings, is do the things that we can leverage, that we can do correctly, that we could see a return on, that children will benefit from. Because we can get lost in the weeds with the million things that come up.
Yeah, and I think it's appropriate because sometimes, I always say to folks, too much, too little return, right? We try so many things that, we don't necessarily do any one of them extremely well because our hands are in so many buckets. And I think, to Rob's analogy, I think, it's important that we do identify those things that we really need to work on and get really, really good at it. I think even as the consumer, sometimes we're not really necessarily happy with the idea. Well, I don't want just those three. I want to be able to do all of these other things. I want to be able to eat. I want to sample all of these other things. But does the quality of that wind up getting impacted because we've opened the door to so many different opportunities for folks to choose, that we don't really ever land and get good at the ones that we need to get good at? So I do appreciate that analogy that came up from our group. Anyone else have a comment that came up based on those three areas that are part of trajectory changing schools? All right, so as we go through the next series of slides, I want you to think about those three things: the belonging space, the consistency space, the coherence space. And I created a Padlet for us to add in some of our feedback individually around the preliminary goals that we've set up for next year. Now, there are a couple of additions that I do want to go over before we go into these goals, and you guys have an opportunity to share out some of your thoughts. Based on CEC feedback, yesterday, on Wednesday, we did go through these goals, and one of the ones that came up was around all students graduate college and career ready and a pathway to economic security. One of the things that we did every year, and I have in yellow and say consider for a goal for next year, was the Save for College program. Right now we have just around 30%, a little, maybe a little bit plus 30% of families that take advantage of Safe for College program. So we talked about it at the CEC and came to consensus that it would be a good idea if we do add a goal to this and say that we want to try to increase it. Because I do think it's an opportunity that, for money to be added to a child's account, simply by activating an account is something that's worth making sure we're getting that information more widely available to communities. So we did add this other one here just for everyone's knowledge. This top goal was also adjusted a little bit in terms of schools participating in Project Soapbox, so that they're engaging in at least a Take Action project, resulting in 8th grade students across District 25 earning 1 point to the Seal for Civic Readiness, which is something that we should strive for. It's promoting that opportunity for our kids to really understand their civic responsibilities and duties. So we did add that component in there. And the other goal that I do want to make sure that we can connect on and reflect on is the parent engagement goal, and whether or not we want to bring in this idea of wellness into the space. So during our CEC meeting, and part of our CEC work was around a slogan that we want to build towards this idea of wellness across our district schools. So we had families from across schools that did participate. We got a little over 100, which is a decent sample size of feedback that landed on each of these particular slogans as appropriate. After our CEC conversation, we said, you know what, some of these, how do we kind of embed in all of the discussion into one space, which came to this idea of wellness, kindness, community. Very short and sweet. From these slogans here to this space of wellness, kindness, community, part of a CEC consensus that will help drive home this wellness district CEC collaboration, which I think is appropriate for us. And one of the outgrowths of that was starting in the year, connecting with a connecting opportunity for all families to have like that incoming before school starts, whether it's some schools do a carnival, popsicles in the park, just community building opportunity in the schoolyard was something that was an outgrowth of that. But it made me think a little bit about our goal that we set for priority 5, which is all districts and schools more inclusive and responsive for families, for parents and families. Do we want to say more or something different in regards to this goal, thinking about that collaboration with the CEC and our district needs when we're thinking about wellness, kindness, community? Is there something within those 3 areas that we would want to linger on and build out more? Because we're at the beginning phases of this. We do have to define wellness as a district. We have to define kindness, and we have to define community in terms of what we want it to be. But I would love to get your initial thoughts on each of these goals and what feedback you would have in terms of where we currently are and our thoughts in it. So there's a QR code that's present here in the slides, and it's going to bring you to this space. And all you would really need to do for priority 1, all students learn to read well, please share your feedback. What are your initial thoughts? What does it make you think as a parent? What does it make you think as a building leader? What does it make you think as a district representative? All you simply need to do is click on the plus sign, and then you add in what your thoughts are into this space and add your notes. All you're doing is typing in the little box, adding in your thoughts, and then you click publish to add in what your thinking is. Okay, so you're going to have to refer back to our goals. We have them each here. Priority 1, priority 2 has changed a bit in terms of the conversation starters, the mind up moments, and brain breaks resulting in relationship building with kids. Is there something else we would want to add it in terms of wellness there? Something in terms of your thinking around where we are as a district, what you've learned from our district data throughout the year, and what we want to do next, moving forward into next school year. We've also made an adjustment to our math goal. We've made this less connected to Amplify and more connected to just the instructional shifts, specifically around sense making, so that our kids are having those opportunities to grow mathematically. So I'm going to give you guys the next 7 minutes to review each of the goals. And then we'll give you about another 7 minutes to start entering in some feedback into the Padlet. Just for us to all reflect on what it is that your thinking is. And this is important to me because sometimes in group, we're maybe not necessarily as willing to connect, verbally, but sometimes it opens us up a little bit more if we can type some things in. So if we can do that, I'm going to put my timer on. We'll have about 15 minutes total to do some review and then adding some of your thoughts into the Padlet. Feel free if you want to go off screen, you're welcome to at this time. And then we come back in 15 minutes. I just ask that you do add some of your thoughts into the Padlet, which I will share in the chat too in the event you couldn't get to the presentation. Okay, Padlet link is in the chat as well. Just giving everyone a quick time check. We have about 8 minutes. So once you've been able to get through those goals, please be sure to add in some of your thoughts and feedback into the Padlet. Thanks. And just remember, as you're giving the feedback, you're referring to our district goals aligned with each of those priorities that you're finding in the presentation from today. Not just the statement itself, but the goals that are associated with it. Okay, guys, down to that 5-minute warning. I see a bunch of comments in here. I'd love to see a whole bunch more. Just some of your thoughts. Okay, folks, just 2-minute warning. 2-minute warning. If you haven't, please add some of your thoughts. I see a couple of really great comments in here that has already had me start asking some team members to start thinking about certain things just based on what's in here. So please feel free. All right, guys, we'll come back together. I thank you for including some of your feedback in the Padlet. If you just take a moment before we all come back together, just review some of the commentary from folks that added their thoughts into the Padlet. It looks like for the most part the goals sound like they align with what we've been talking about here as a district. Anything that any of you noticed from someone's comment or things that you think would be appropriate for us to look at moving forward from whether it's your own comment or someone else's. Go ahead, Eden.
So just looking in regards to like what we were talking about with the financial stuff and the economic security, it kind of sounds like there needs to be like a financial literacy piece. And it's not just teaching the parents that this program is available, but that the students are learning more of like financial literacy as well. And that's something I've had like very in-depth conversations with people about, that it's like kids are learning math, but they're not learning necessarily the math skills they need down the line in their everyday life.
Yeah, so this program, Eden, actually comes with financial literacy lessons. It's not just an account. In fact, both Anna from the team and Melinda from the team were authors of this, so they have a pretty good understanding of the curriculum that was developed at the city level. So it does come with these a series of lessons to support that work. Those are there. You know, but are we tying them in well enough for it to be recognizable for both student and family? So that I think when it's embedded in a goal, it makes it something that has to become part of the action plan. If we're talking about this with parents, then we have to have, if we're talking about this in a goal, then we have to have something where we're engaging our families with it and they have an understanding of, where it lives, why it lives there, and how it can support their kids. But yeah, no, super important. It does have to be something that is much wider than just us talking about you get a great account. Yeah. Any other thoughts that you noticed as you reviewed some of these examples? Now, you see there in the chronic absenteeism, just how we're communicating that with families. At times, maybe perhaps it's coming across as more harsh than we would like it to. You know, so that's something that we can communicate on and what we would want that language to look like to convey to our parents. We can come up with
Yeah.
some agreements here in terms of
Dr.
recommendation.
Dr. Mike, on that one, that was actually the first comment of the chronic absenteeism is mine. I know there's some that kind of floated into one of the other sections, but I think that kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about during the CEC meeting, that like my own child was like more scared of the letter than I was. And she's like, oh my God, did I do something wrong? Oh my God. And like, I'm like, no, you had legit absences. Like, it's okay. But like, what does at risk mean for those parents when they're reading that letter? And what does it mean to the children that are also knowing that this letter is going home to their parents? So I think what we were talking about at the CC meeting was really looking at rewording the entire letter of communication that's going out to parents. So like, we're like, hey, we're here to support you, but also what else do you need from us? And what does this really mean in this letter for you?
Yeah, always has to be layered in support. 100%. Always has to be layered in support. But that's something that we can certainly bring back to our schools to think about, because they're doing this all with all best intent to make sure that kids are served as much as possible. But with that intent, if it's not hitting home the right way and you're just getting people frustrated, they don't want to do that either. So I think it's important feedback as we start action planning for next year. But I also saw a couple of things in here around Mind Up and gathering some feedback. We have been a district that has used Ruler for a number of years. We also have Mind Up, you know, and I've talked to you guys about this. We have Mind Up. Is it in name only? Do we really need to spend more time digging into implementation so that the intent of the program is actually being delivered across schools in a meaningful way? So more to follow on that one. I think that's an important piece of feedback in regards to growing in that program. Anything else that kind of stood out to anyone that you said, yeah, that makes sense? So a quarterly thing with the family engagement types of activities. Kind of making it where there is a space for volunteering and such. I think there are certainly opportunities for that. Any other noticings that anyone wants to point out?
I like the comment on positive reinforcement, like, issuing awards for those students who consistently come to school, whether it be by semester or perfect attendance yearly, and other students get to see in there. Oh, I want, I want to see that award as well.
Yeah, so schools do try to do a balance of that. So you'll see 100% attendance. You'll see, attendance awards nights types of things that are tied into like student of the month, and they'll have part of that student of the month celebrating a series of things. So that does happen. What we can certainly embed inside of it, that it's happening across all schools, making sure that it is something that is consistent across all buildings. We can make that in terms of a recommendation. So I love that, Eduardo. Thank you. One or two more?
Hi, Dr. Mike.
Hi, Catherine.
As far as the parent engagement goes, I know that sometimes the time slots that parents, or the amount of time parents are asked to volunteer can just be maybe like a lot. Like a 3-hour chunk in a day sometimes is too much for somebody to dedicate. But if they could just do an hour on a Friday afternoon, that might be more realistic. And maybe we could get some sort of message out in the beginning of the year that how important parent engagement is in the schools. And if you can only dedicate a small number of hours over the course of the year, it doesn't have to be that you're coming every Friday. It doesn't have to be that you're coming, just throw out a number. It could be just, if you could do 5 hours over the course of the school year, it would greatly help the community, and it helps the parents. The kids love seeing the moms and the dads that they know in the school helping at the snack stands and helping run the different events. They get so excited to see you. They run up, they hug you. But I think sometimes the amount of time that is needed is a lot. So
It's funny, sometimes probably even more than your own kids, more than your own
yeah.
kids.
Oh, my kids, they're like, why are you here? but the other ones are really, really happy.
Yeah, you know
Not
what? I
all of
think
mine. That's
uh,
only as they get older.
that's so funny. That's so funny. Yeah, I think that there is opportunity there. And, you know, one of the things that I'd love for us to really think about too, and this is something that part of the subcommittee work that we did last year was a recommendation. We couldn't really call it a PAC because PACs are part of what you work through right now, Catherine. But even like in an advisory group that kind of serves as, here's what we want to organize as parents to support school goals. SLTs can be another function of it so that you don't have to have another meeting. I feel like that's what often happens. It becomes another meeting. How do we add another meeting? Instead of adding another meeting, how do we capitalize on the time that we have and use the folks that are coming and are willing and able to come to create something from there? You know, then let me reach out as part of this SLT subcommittee to these other folks that are willing, and then you start building on it and building on it and building on it. And every school's in its own space with that. You know, some have hundreds of people that are willing to volunteer. They're on their whatever groups that they're on. Yes, I'm willing. Others are not in that same space where it's a struggle to get a handful of people to come in. You know, and I think we start with where we're at, you know, and here are the parent leaders that we have in our buildings, but we want to focus on something, whether it's we want to focus on building community, we want to focus on building relationships, and then it becomes something that we can call in and say, how are we going to do that? What community events do we want? You know, where you guys are part of making the decisions, not just as, you know, and I love the volunteering, but I feel like it's because, but it's got to be with purpose. If we do it with purpose, more people will be interested. I feel I could be wrong on that, um, but I like that idea, and I'm wondering how we can tap into some of the meetings that you guys already go to, so it's not another one. I mean, I don't know how you guys do it. You're on 9 million meetings just from the district alone, let alone school meetings. You know, so how do we kind of capitalize on the time and make a recommendation from here that helps support schools with that, and for parent SLT members to know that if you're joining the SLT, yes, you're part of the SLT, but you should be doing something like this with the time that you're giving, so that we're not passive participants, you know. And oftentimes that's what happens. Like, oh, that's everything looks great, sounds great, it's wonderful. But we want them to also have that opportunity to say, you know what, maybe we can do this. Maybe we can do that. Maybe this will help our kids think about, or maybe this will help our community get more engaged. So something for us to think about in terms of recommendation. What recommendation would we want to give to schools as a district leadership team to foster that kind of growth? Eden.
Just to piggyback off of Catherine. So I think the parent involvement is a very like touchy subject these days. Because of everyone went back to work after COVID, like people weren't home as much, and like a lot of people are back in the office. And I know, like for my school specifically, like they'll send out reminders through Dojo. Hey, we need parent volunteers for this. We need parent volunteers for this. And parents are not stepping up to do it, even when it is like a 30-minute time slot at an event or an hour time slot at an event. Parents, for some reason, just don't do it. It's always the same few parents, or it just goes back to like, let's say the PTA falling and having to do it. And even like our SLT, most of us happen to be PTA members, but the one or two that aren't are not the parents volunteering either. So
Yeah, and
I just don't know how to pull them in more.
Sometimes listen, it's hard. I'd be lying to you if I said I was at everything that my kids had. It's a lie. I'd be lying to you. I go what I can go to, you know, and everyone's got their own role and their own job that is going to weigh on them in some way, shape, or form. Now, there are days that my day starts at 6:45 in the office to you guys see me here until 10. I'm not making something that my kids got on those days. Just no way. I can't do it. It's impossible. And unfortunately for me, sometimes there are more days like that than others. And I'm not going to be the parent that can contribute that way. But if there were things that I knew about in advance and you were to call me, even as a parent leader of the SLT, collaboratively with the school, right? Not just you on your own, but collaboratively with the school. And you said, you know what, Mike, I'd love for you to come to X, Y, and Z. Can you contribute time? I wouldn't say no to you. I'd figure it out. I would figure it out. I wouldn't say no. But if we have a session going on Thursday this week and it's Tuesday, can you come? It's very unlikely that I can do that. Right. And oftentimes when we don't hear the response, it's all right, well, it went down to the nitty gritty. Who are we going to get to come and do it? And it becomes Eden, it becomes Catherine, it becomes the other people that typically come. But I think sometimes even that personal kind of outreach to someone in a class across the classes that can just reach out and say, hi, we're part of the SLT. Love for you to see you there. Maybe that's something we can help generate at least a handful more people that would come versus what we currently have. Just as a thought, might be something that we can organize around as part of a component of the SLT. I feel like you're there already. You already have to be part of that conversation. Why not add in a component that's around this type of work where we're getting more voice from our parents? Because you guys have great ideas, great thoughts that would make the community better, but sometimes they're held within someone's household. They're not outside of that. Oh, why doesn't the school do? Right? But that stays at home. The school can organize this, but it stays at home. And our building leaders here, they do their darndest to make sure that each of the things that you guys have in terms of ideas get brought to the forefront. They don't take that for granted. They want to be able to hear it. So maybe yeah, schools can certainly do that. And I know schools do that outreach in terms of time, and you still wind up running into a similar type of scenario at times. It's not an easy thing, but I feel like if we create like a group of people that are part of the parent leadership with the school leadership team as part of it, maybe we can get some more people that are more willing than not to become part of that group. Just throwing it out there. We can talk about it more in June and then July and then into start of the year in terms of here's the recommendation we want to have moving forward. Just as a thought. Okay. Any other goals that came up that you want to talk about or through before we move on? So the only homework that I'm going to give you guys, if I could, is around this wellness, kindness, community component. I'd love for all of you to kind of think about how we can define those three terms for what it would mean for you if we really promoted this really well across the district. What would we want that to look like? I'm going to create something where we get some feedback from kids around this as well, what they would think about in terms of wellness, kindness, community for District 25. And then we're going to organize all that information into a nice little bundle for us to kind of talk about as a team. Because I really do believe in this part. I think, our jobs are certainly to educate and make sure that our kids can read, write, and engage in math. But we're also charged with making sure that kids do the right thing. And that part of it is really, really important for me, not only as an educator, but, as a parent. It's an expectation of mine for my kids. And, but they're not with me all day. They're in schools. And, for me, it's a reminder to them on a routine basis. You make sure that you are following suit when you're outside of my sight too. And I think the more that we can convey the common message together, that part of being in a community is if you'll do what's right in front of me, then you should be able to do what's right in front of your teacher or your peers. And that to me is really, really important. It's about building children a really strong character. And, it's part of what I believe our message should be as a district community. It's about the academics. It's super important. But I feel like I grew to the place where I am as an individual. Yes, I was able to get a lot of degrees. But I think it's the way that I've been able to treat people that's allowed people to see me in a different light other than just being able to get a degree. And how I can build relationships with others just by being someone who's kind, I think goes a long, long way. And it'll go a long, long way for our kids. So this part of it's really important to me. And I would love I would love for us to really linger over this so that we can build on it moving forward. Yeah, go ahead, Catherine.
My favorite subject, recess. High quality recess. High quality, especially high quality indoor recess. Like the kids are testing right now. The kids are inside, you know, a lot of the times we're still watching movies. It's just, and it's a time for them to be able to make their own individual choices, connect with other kids, and practice kindness on you know, on that time that's not necessarily right under the directly in front of the adults. Bella, please. Shh, sorry.
You're
I
good. I
can't
didn't
think
even
with
hear anything.
her. That's it. That's all I've got right now.
Yeah, no, I think it's I think there's importance to what you just said, and I think sometimes we get restricted by the amount of physical space that we also have. Gyms need to be used at certain times, you know, so having kids in an auditorium during a bad weather day sometimes is the only option because you don't have other spaces for them to go, and only certain number of bodies to manage children in a large or even in smaller spaces if they wanted to. Some have created like these lunch clubs, you know, when it's feasible and there's enough staff, you can do those types of things where kids get to self-select. But it is something I did note and something that we could talk about with our building leaders a little bit more to see how we do promote that space of community, because I do think that there is a lot that goes into organized play and how we communicate with one another and how we don't treat each other with, you know, in a competitive space. Sometimes kids do and say things that are not really all that kind. So, but yeah, no, duly noted. I've noted that. Okay. So guys, that kind of brings us to a close. I'm going to review the notes that you have there. I'm going to make some adjustments as needed in terms of action planning. And what this made me realize, the more we talk about clarity, is how clear are we with everyone around what our next steps are? With what does it mean to use instructional resources well? What does it mean to promote this idea of positive relationships so that everyone knows what their role is in it, whether you are a teacher, or you're a leader, or you're a parent, or you're a kid? How do we make sure that everyone knows what we mean by that, so that there are clear expectations set for everyone? So that's something Uman and I are going to be working on quite a bit to make sure that we're as clear as possible with these goals and what it means for each constituent group. So Gus, I'm going to turn it over to you for your
Okay.
portion, and then we'll go through our constituent groups.
Great. I'll begin with the DCEP, and I want everyone to know that Central has told us that the new DCEP template will be available May 16th on iPlan. So look for that. I realize that it only gives us a month to begin working on it, but we have been working on it, as you can see from this morning, on an ongoing basis with the new goals. The template is not going to radically change, but there are some changes. The changes are going to reflect the changes in the CP template, which I'm going to go over in a minute. So they are trying to make the two documents align more closely, and so they're adding some of the same sections that don't currently exist on the DCEP, and that are part of the new CEP template that schools are working on to the DCEP. The old one, I'm told, is online. In terms of progress monitoring, I know that the district has been putting in the information on progress monitoring. You can continue to use the old template to put that in, just like the schools are doing. You'll be able to put it in the new template. In other words, they'll transfer over whatever you've done in the old template into the new template, just like the schools. So look for that on the 16th in terms of progress monitoring. They will also send us a timeline on the DCEP, which will be similar to what we've seen in the past. So you have a bunch of handouts as usual. Some of them might look as if they're repetitive, but the reason why, particularly the monthly suggested activities for DLTs and schools, the reason why I send them to you again is they update the links. So they look to be the same documents, but the links are different. They're updated. And they're all constantly updated, and all of this resides in iPlan in the resources section. So you can always get at that information from the resource section. So that's about all I have to say on the DCEP. If you have a summer meeting, you can look at the template the new template during that meeting as well as the June meeting. And you're in good shape because you've already been working on it. So I have a PowerPoint that Central developed and that I edited down a little bit to give you an overview of the changes on the CEP. So let me see if I can share my screen and give that to you. Let's see. I guess this is the screen here.
And folks, just a reminder, all of these resources that Gus just mentioned are in the DLT meeting folder.
Right. Let me get it up. Can everybody see that? Did I do it right?
Yep, you're good, Gus.
Okay, good. Okay, so this is the updated PowerPoint. You have it, and again, there are links in this thing that I think are useful, to take advantage of. So here's a little overview in pictures of the changes in the template. It's got a revised needs assessment format. A lot of the changes are in terms of arrangement and terminology. I'm going to highlight some of the more important, what I think are content changes, but the stylistic ones should be mentioned as well. One of the important changes has to do with special ed, which I'm going to go on, and system-wide priorities. So you see them listed here. There's also a alignment in terms of the redesigned MTSS section. They added a section to that, which we'll talk about in a moment. There's that is the section on students in foster care, which was not there before. The updated chronic absenteeism has new terminology, and then the progress monitoring has been streamlined, and there's a little differences in the arrangement. So the system-wide focus areas. So in the new template, it's asking you to put in information about system-wide focus. That was there last year as well. The examples that they've come up with, for example, in New York City Reads, you see Hidden Voices and the Black Studies curriculum here, etc. What I did, and I don't know whether that's going to be shared with the system as a whole, but I was at QPN and I had access to some of the central folks. So what we did was we took these examples that on system-wide focuses that Central recommends school take into account, and we broke them up by priority. And what we did was we created a separate handout in order to make it clearer and to give schools a resource to be able to do that, because I felt that it wasn't clear in the way it is in the template for schools to deal with that information. So if I have time, I'll show you the handout, but you have it. So what it does is it takes each priority and then it gives you the system-wide suggestions for each priority. So I feel it makes it clearer and easier for schools to deal with it and for you as well to see what Central is recommending. Now, these are not requirements, ladies and gentlemen, but they're recommendations. And, you know, when Central recommends something, usually people should pay attention to it. So the next piece is the needs assessment guidance. And you'll see that link there, which takes you to the guidance document on doing the needs assessment. And it's updated to data systems. And it gives a bit more, they changed the arrangement of way the needs assessment and the root causes, etc., was from the last template. So it's an arrangement change, but also it gives you a bit more information about the kinds of data that you should be putting into that section as well. So that's one of the useful pieces to that. Let's see. Okay. Um, Also, you see here, this is what I was just talking about, the way it's arranged. It's arranged a little differently than it was arranged last time, and it gives samples. So that's a change that wasn't there last time. So look for that. Again, it's not a sea change, but it's something that you'll see when is different. The action plan, again, it's an arrangement difference. Now requires school to show alignment between the root causes, the corresponding key strategy, and the action steps. So there is a more close alignment between the needs assessment and the action plan. So there's more coherence and it reinforces the PRT, the progress monitoring tool information that should be there. And the progress monitoring tool is a big change. What they did was if you look at the progress monitoring in the new template, it is a lot briefer than it was in the previous template. The reason for that is they took the information in terms of being on track, off track, etc., and the differences between implementation and progress monitoring checks, and they put that into the tool. Now, the tool is not available yet. The tool is going to be available. The new tool is going to be available over the summertime, sometime after June. What you'll see in the current template is you'll see the old arrangement of the tool and the progress monitoring checks that schools put in before. And I'm very proud of District 25 because District 25 schools all did the progress monitoring for all of their CEPs. So you are at 100%. I wish I could say that for this for the city as a whole and for all Queens North as a whole. But you are 100%. I sent out a listing of schools, and we're pretty good in Queens North. Don't misunderstand me. We just have small numbers of schools that lag behind on the doing the PRT, which they can no longer use the old template. They have to go to the new template and put the new information in. But you're 100%. So I commend you on that. Bravo, District 25. So the action plan has this fidelity of implementation that they're talking about. And the students with disabilities is a piece that is abbreviated. If you look at the template, it asks you to put in information. The guidelines for that information are not there. When I noticed that, I recommended to Central that they create some, drop downs and put in those guidelines. And I think that's under consideration, so they may do that relatively soon. But in any case, what I did was I pulled out the guidelines, put them into that handout with the system-wide priorities, and I sent it to every superintendency, every district in Queens North. And I recommended that it be shared with all the schools. So the schools need that information to be able, in my opinion, to fill out intelligently the information for the new SWD section. If I get a chance, I'll show you what that looks like. But you see what it looks like here. Although it's small for you to read here, when you get when you download and you have your own copy of this PowerPoint, you can blow it up. But just look at the handout. It's, I think, easier to use, and it has all of that information in there. The chronic absenteeism, an attendance section. It's more attendance, and it now marries the attendance data to the chronic absenteeism data. So it's kind of a combination, and that's other than the stylistic changes, that's what's there in terms of tracking that information and monitoring it in the progress monitoring section as well. In addition to that gold section, which always has been in there, it's been changed stylistically and realigned a little better. Multi-tiered systems of support. Again, it has a section for elevating support for vulnerable populations. So it has more clear definitions for Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, and it improves the alignment and has a bit more information in prioritizing. And they added a new section for students in foster care. That's the really new piece that wasn't there before at all. So they added a foster care section. A lot of schools have students that are in that situation. So now it gives schools a chance to a place for them to put that information into the new into the CEP in the new template. Sections that will not be pre-populated for content, and sections that will. That's what is here. It simply highlights for the schools what they were able to carry over. So unfortunately, there's less that's carried over because of the structural changes and the stylistic changes that were done from last year to this year. So again, schools that were missing goals in the old CEP, they couldn't transfer anything over for those schools. But you are at 100%. Again, I'm proud of you at being at 100% in District 25. All of your schools had goals in them. You don't have any missing goal sections, unlike some others. That all information transferred over. And then it tells you here sections that will be pre-populated. So there are sections that are not, and then sections that will be pre-populated. There are much fewer that are pre-populated in the new template, and it indicates here what those sections are. In terms of what the changes are, I like this piece. I actually printed it out before we had this PowerPoint and handed it out to people. It is sort of a nice, good overview. You might, if you sit on an SLT, you might want to print it out and take it to an SLT meeting. It is easy. It gives an overview, all of the changes that are in the document in one page. I like that particular overview section. Again, this just indicates the kinds of support that I give to schools. As you know, I am available. You should know by now, and certainly all the schools should know because I've been doing this a long time and I operate the same way. I get back to any principal or assistant principal or district staff member that emails me about CP related issues. Within 24 hours, I try to get back within the hour. And I get in my signature, you have my personal cell phone that my wife and my family calls me on. So I answer that 24/7, and people email me, do Teams, etc. I've been getting questions from schools because people are looking at the new template and they have questions, and I've been getting back to people on an ongoing basis, and I will continue to operate that way into the summertime and beyond. The timeline. The highlight here I have for you, and you have this again because you have the PowerPoint. July 11th is the usual attestation where principals align their budget to their goals, and they need to do that alignment, and superintendents are certifying that by the 25th of July. Again, you are the first or one of the first districts in the entire city that always meets that deadline. And again, I brag about Queens North as a whole and District 25 and 26 and some of the others because you consistently meet the deadlines or ahead of deadline and you've been doing that for a long time. Over the summertime, as you can see here, the district team will provide feedback to schools. And then the deadline that we have right now, sometimes things change, is October 24th, that everyone is supposed to revise their document. And we're looking for public postings and finalization by superintendents in December, early December, it says here. As things change, there may be some modification to this, but that's what we have right now, ladies and gentlemen. Resources you see here, which is the value of having this document, and it gives you the resources links that schools and yourselves should be able to use. If you have any difficulty in accessing these resources from the PowerPoint, you should be able to get them from the resources page on the public area of iPlan. Before I take questions, let me see if I can get that other handout up here as well. Yes, this is my handout. Let me see if it'll. Okay, so you see what it looks like, folks. It gives you the priorities according to the goals and the priorities. See the system-wide priorities. They're not arranged that way elsewhere. So this was specially created for us, and they may share it citywide, but it was something that was specially created for us. And I think it helps schools address those system-wide priorities by progress SMART goal for priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then here's chronic absenteeism. And then here's the SWD handout, which if you don't have it, you won't know exactly what you should be putting in to each one of those. You see, if you look at the template simply has a box for IEP development and fidelity of implementation. It doesn't have these bullets. So I thought it would be extremely helpful for schools to have those bullets so they understand what they should be putting into those boxes. So that's what that handout is, folks, and it takes you through those bullets for each one of those sections, and the titles are there. Equity and school discipline, for example, it gives you two bullets there for what should be put in. Any questions on anything I said so far? Let me see if I covered everything. Oh yes, there's one thing that I need to say in terms of the information that you should be putting in on a monthly basis for SLT meetings and PACs. Schools need to know that if they did not put it in to the old template for months prior to April, they can no longer do so. If you go to the new template, you'll see that you can put it in from April on, April, May, June, and next academic year. You can't go back now and put it in. So when I asked, because I had some schools that hadn't put and PACs that hadn't put the information in, what I was told by Central is they can't do it anymore because the documents have been posted and they're no longer available. But what schools need to do is keep that information available electronically. And, I always recommend people download or print things out just so they always have it. In case the state comes back and asks for that information at some point and it hasn't been put into iPlan, so they can't simply get it from the iPlan portal. So schools need to know that, and I've been getting some inquiries from people. The other related piece of information is I get a lot of questions from schools that they want to access their old CEP, the one that's been publicly posted. As of Friday, they could still not get it by just going to iPlan and logging in. But they can get it in the following way. But they need to know that, and I walk through principles to that. You can get at the old document by not logging in. You have to go to the public website, then you'll see the drop down, and then you can download and print out or save your current CEP. You can't see it, at least you couldn't as of Friday, and you can't download it if you log in. So schools need to know that, and I've been telling superintendents, DLTs, and schools on an individual basis. I've been sharing that information with them because they go to it and it says that it's not available, and then they think they can't get it. They panic, and I always tell schools the same thing. Folks, anything that's important to you in terms of the internet and documents, etc., always download it. And I'm old fashioned. I like to print things out on paper, so throw it into a file so I know I always have it. But I'm a old school kind of guy. I don't trust technology as much as some of my younger colleagues do. So I think I've covered all of my agenda items and what I needed to say. Any questions on or comments on anything that I've told you so far? I don't see any
Thanks
hands
so
up.
much,
Yeah.
Gus. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you,
thank
Gus.
you. Let me stop
Appreciate it.
sharing and get out.
So I know we have a number of folks that were unable to either hang on or had to go. So we won't be getting a report from CEC, President's Council, Lamar, or DC 37. So we do have Eduardo, high school superintendent's report.
Yes, okay, I'm going to share my screen. Screen 2. Here we go. Share. All right. Greetings from Queens North. We're going to skip to some of the slides that we have updated. So as we continue our DCEP progress monitoring, increased regions pass rates for of ELS and students with IEP, and also systems and structures for sustainable progress towards CCRI. Reduction in student suspensions and reduce chronic absenteeism. We've been, monthly school-based attendance coordinators, professional learning, monthly attendance teacher meetings. Certain family engagement. So we will be meeting this week with a new service provider to include a multilingual resources for parents. Although we have a robust website right now, we want to improve it by adding resources such as internships for students. High school building utilization, overcrowded spaces, and impact of class size. 19 of our 20 schools who apply received the funding. We have received additional funding for 156 teachers and 4 APs. And the projected average class size compliance is 56.7. So the classes will be at or below the cap. Friday, April 4th, we had our third annual Youth Empowerment Conference. These are some of the pictures of students' performances, and this artwork is now hanging, the one that looks like a little bit like Keith Haring's inspired, is now hanging here on the 4th floor. I was able to go to Materials for the Arts and get a nice frame for it, so it looks really, really nice here in the lobby area. So our last family forum will be Tuesday, May 24th. Here's the information. Also, we have this information on our website. Queens North High Schools is leading the city. All K through 12 public schools in serving students with IEPs. This is a first in our high school district. 5,024 students are receiving the services they need to access the curriculum and be successful. And in our pursuit to obtain 100%, we're currently working on the remaining 161 students across the district. A lot of this work is happening here in District 25. Flushing High School led a 92.8 increase in progress monitoring data in just 21 days. Here we see our progress services report heroes, AP Booker and Principal Jessica Lee at Flushing High School. Our next hiring event will be happening May 20th. So this will be our teacher recruitment event. All this information is on our website. And that's all I have for Queens North updates. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Eduardo. Rob, anything from CSA?
Nothing in particular. I know I've been asking every month, looking forward to the class size reduction update approvals, and they have come in. Mike, thanks for the support and putting together that hiring fair. A lot of my colleagues were super appreciative, and a lot of good candidates coming from that. Excited. CSA is hosting tonight a oral forum where we all are going to be able to meet with the future mayor of New York City, and myself and the executive board member David Abbott will get to a personal meet and greet with those candidates after that forum. So looking forward to really sharing some of the some more concerns as building leaders, and that's exciting.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. Who knew you were such a politician?
I got to do something after this. 33 years of education. Now I got to start.
Yeah, listen, I think I'm happy that the class size recruitment fair went well. I think that we did make a lot of strong connections with some prospective candidates, and there were some of your colleagues, because of the volume of new teachers that they'll be adding, had real big lines of people waiting to speak with them. So I think it was a well-served day, and if need be, we'll see what happens over the course of the next few weeks. If need be, we'll add another district-centric one. There'll be a Queens one that our schools will have access to as well. But I think we made a lot of headway just in that one event alone. So more to follow on that, including training supports that we'll be working with you guys on in the next meeting that we're able to have with the planning committee around things that we can do here at the district to help support building people up.
That might not be, I mean, I know you did it this year because of the current need, but it might not be a bad idea moving forward. Because I mean, in the 10 years I've been here, I'm always astounded on those years that I really want to find somebody good. I know they're out there, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's like trying to find them and bring them is the challenge.
Yeah, word traveled real fast, everyone. Just in case you didn't know, it became on Facebook. I know I certainly don't. I'm not a Facebook guy, but apparently Facebook, Instagram, that flyer that we created was all over the place, and we did get quite a good return. So, and lastly, Catherine, is there anything that you want to share from DPAC perspective to close us out today?
No, I don't really have any, I don't have any updates on our end, but this is just last couple of weeks of school, really. Everything is coming to a close.
Yeah, crazy to think about it like that, but it's true. We went through this year pretty darn fast. But okay, guys, if there's nothing else, I mean, we don't have consent, our meeting from the time we started to where we are now, we lost a number of folks. So can we come to consensus with those that are still here to close out this meeting today? And just a reminder, the next one will be in person. We like to try to close it out. We added into our bylaws so that we could close out the year in person and have that mid-year in person. So this is on Monday, June 9th. That meeting will be in person. We'll try to get some breakfast together for everyone so we can sit, enjoy, and then talk about our next steps. So looking forward to seeing you guys then. Other than that, everyone have a great day and enjoy the week. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.